So I'd like to have a conversation about the GRAMoire and specifically issue 2. So this is the second issue of this visionary art publication that I'm putting together, where I've been using this fruit of life pattern with these 7 seed words. Started out as kind of like a study technique, a journaling technique, and it's turned on into like so much more than that. And so I've taken these years of experience from playing with this form, and I've started making art that is very symbolic. And so I've decided to just make them very, lots of imagery to them, and then condense them into these little monthly publications where I have 7 of these artistic spreads in here. And then in between each one, there's a blank spread for you to kind of expand those visions that I've kind of downloaded or imagined and put on the page, for you to let them seed in your heart and your mind, so that you can then fill it in and create a larger perspective. If you go to the website, you can see the complete set of art along with any ponderings I might have had and any kind of articles or videos that I consumed that kind of also went into the energy of the page. So that's available to everybody, but you can purchase this book if you want the tangible product that I print here at home in my little studio, and then I bind them together with a waxed thread. This is an example of one of the art pieces. So this is the original art that I created. This one is called the octopus, and it's inside the GRAMoire issue 2. What I did is I used the fruit of life pattern in the background, and for whatever reason the octopus had come up for me. So I had seen this vision of the octopus reaching out through all the spheres that I use in my practice. So this is one of those visionary art pages, and then along with it are the study notes of the things that either intuitively came to me or I stumbled across, information that I looked up, like definitions or etymology, information about the octopus. So each one of these pieces of art also has kind of a code that goes along with the visual expression that you see in the art that are composed in the GRAMoire. So what I want to do is I just kind of want to go through here and see what kind of ideas come up from the visuals as I look at them again, because I haven't really, other than from when I printed them, I haven't really reviewed them. So if anything comes up from looking at them, then I just kind of want to intuitively go with that. And I really just want to show each one of the spreads that are in the book. So let's take a look inside. So this will be issue 2 that I've completed in September. And I'm Molly, if you're not familiar with that. So this is the Codex. I left blank pages in here so that you could write your own notes and your own thoughts down, because I actually use this book myself. Instead of using my big quantum memoir, I've been using these smaller versions just so that I can take it around with me during the day, and as intuitive ideas come up, I can put them down on paper. So I really like having that extra blank space. So I've made this for myself, but it's also for you. So the first spread that's in here is called Imagination. So there's 7 spreads symbolic of the 7 seed words that are in this practice that you can see on the back of the book very clearly. And this is what they're labeled as. So when you look at one of them, this is Imagination, it's the first one. If you go to the website listed down here, you can see a closer up version of this. If this ends up being too small for you, then you can go to the website and see the larger view. And then you can also access the citation list, the videos and articles that I consumed while I was doing it. So you could be able to go like a little bit further into the expression or the energy of this page. So this is called the Codex. This is the name of the spreads that are inside this book. So then the first one is Imagination. So let's let our imagination just kind of play with the ideas on this page. So the hand is really standing out to me. I can see that I have a symbolic, balance. So oftentimes you'll see that everything is balanced on the left and the right and the top to the bottom, and the sides. So I have this left hand here, which is receiving, and then my expression is the giving. It's the right hand. So makes me think of, you know, me binding these. The first issue that I did, I had a really kind of like book style, traditional cover of the spine so that it looked like a book. But I really think that having the binding is much more magical to have that exposed, so you can see the handwork that I did when I put in, you know, all these pages together. So that was a change that I decided to do. Door is standing out right now. So open door, welcome, invite, encourage, choice, one path or the other. What else? Electric brain, opening the door to true power. So there's just these little notes. So as something might come up for you, you know, a word might jump out, information, inner workings, transfer of information. So it's your inner clockwork. So you just kind of let these ideas just jump out and see what your opinion or your judgment or your self-reflection is based on what you're seeing or what you're reading. And then you sort of start making associations between the spheres and associations between the words and the images. Especially if you go and you read the citation list and go through the articles or videos that I might have consumed. You're gonna see how this was representative from something that I was consuming. And so this is standing out. So I remember this had something to do with like male and female and child. So like this is the Trinity in essence, where you have the yin and yang opposites, but really the power of that is the middle of them moving. So that's the third thing, the gray area, the middle way. So orange is sticking out, creative. So this was done at the full buck moon. This spread was created during that time. So if you like the idea of different energies, you're going to be able to see what was put in there. Community, discover, follow it. So you just kind of like use it as a meditation. And then if you also want, you could color in. So, you know, you can just color the sphere if you just really want to put a certain kind of chakra energy into that sphere. You know, you could color in the light bulbs there. You know, you could start bringing in all that yellow, all that confidence color into this form. So you can color it, you could write notes on it, you can highlight things, you just play with it. Like the idea is that this should be written on. So I've already, when I went through, I've used actually 2 of them. The issue 1, I've gone through it twice now, where now I've done the art, and now I'm using it as a journal that I carry around with me, and then I'm seeing these again, and then I'm making further notes. So I'm kind of building upon the synchronicities and the ideas that were first, you know, drawn into my imagination to even create the page. So then let's go here. So what you have here is the Fruit of Life pattern, which is considered sacred geometry. It's something that is kind of, once you further expand the flower of life, then it's something that's revealed that also contains the shape called Metatron, Metatron's cube. So I don't know the origin of these ideas. I just know that I'm very drawn to play with this shape because it has all of these little empty spheres. So they're just very intuitively felt like something that should be filled. And so they were never circles to me. They were always like little cups, spheres of information and energy that I was putting in and interconnecting in my mind. So this is the thought form itself, the Quantum Memoir thought form with the 7 seed words. And you could go any direction. You can go clockwise, counterclockwise. You could pop around and do it however you want. You can take the ideas that might have been seeded from here and put them in here, or just come up with your own complete purpose of whatever you have going on in your life, and then start filling it in just intuitively, whatever comes forward for you. And then very particularly what I do is whatever goes on this page is neutral or positive. It's progressive, it's pronoia, and it's always in the present tense. It's not anything specific to the past or something that I will do. It's something that I am doing, that I am. So those are kind of like 2 guidelines that I use to really discipline and train my mind to think of life in a very thriving way instead of a fearful way. So then as you explore whatever purpose you put here, you might be coming up with thoughts and ideas, notes, to-dos, You know, however you want to do more drawings over here, you want to do words and doodles together. Like, it is completely a blank slate for you to work with. The idea is that you just have a foundation that you're funneling ideas into. So then the next spread, I called the electric node. So it was probably really hot. The sun was probably really intense at that time. And I was just getting these ideas about currency and electricity, you know, like the electric universe, that the plasma is the blood of the universe. That is the flow of the universe. So these were kind of like ideas that were bubbling in my mind. And then I was just following them as breadcrumbs, as like deep dives into a specific word or idea. So what you'll see is that all the symbols are here are probably somehow translated over here on the note side. So then you can create your own impression of what this means to you. And then what I find is that whatever it meant to me when I drew it the first time, I may not always directly be connected to. Like, that was just an information that I don't need to remember, but I got some kind of significant feeling from it at the time. And now I see it maybe in a whole entirely new way, because I'm not the same consciousness that created it. Time has passed, and I've integrated these lessons to where now when I look at it, I feel or see a different way. You know, not always, but oftentimes. Like, before, I felt like this was kind of like the burden of the world on this guy's shoulders. But now when I'm looking at it, it actually looks like strength. Like, he's so strong, he could hold up this whole diagram, this whole picture of this universe that I've created. So that's the electric node. And then you have another spread here that you can fill in for yourself. And then the octopus. So here's that example. This is the original artwork that I created for the GRAMoire along with the notes. And you can get this on my website as the original artwork. Obviously, there's only one copy that's available, but you can get this if you want to. And then I also will sell reprints on the eco-friendly paper that I use. So if you wanted a reprint of this so that you could use it as a crystal grid or as a tarot spread to use for the empty spaces, you can access or purchase this on my website just as a reprint. Or you can get the GRAMoire and have a little mini version of it. So this was a real fun one. I really enjoyed that one. And it works really well as a crystal grid, both the larger version and this little small version here. Isn't that cute? Oh, I love it. And then there's another spread for you to continue doing it yourself. And then this one is called Blend. So for this one, there's actually color in the original artwork. I can't sell reprints with the color, but if you wanted the color version, then this one you would want the original piece of artwork. And so for this one, forgive came up as an intuitive idea. Like, I needed to forgive something, and I can't even remember what it was, but it came up as a 4. And 4s and 8s have been coming up a lot for me lately. So I just kind of explored that idea. And if you notice, this is the same, the yin side over here and the yang side here. This is kind of how I see the fruit of life cycle, where you have fall starts to be here, and then this is the winter pushing into the spring here, and then this is the summer. And so you can see that these, to me, are not very symbolic of like distinct times when it's summer or spring. They're all very blended, you know, as they merge in and out of one another. And the reason you actually see an 8 here is because if you see this as a third dimensional or full sphere, then you'll see that the dark side is also the opposite on the other side. So this is not, you know, going in a counterclockwise way, because if you flipped the page over and you saw the other side of this, it would be going in a clockwise way. So it's very fascinating to me. I like it. I like playing with this pattern. And then you have the spread for yourself. And then this one actually took me quite some time, because I was also working on that fruit of life cycle that I just mentioned, you know, from here. So you can see how whatever I was doing my expression in my life was being mirrored into these pieces of artwork that you're seeing here. So this is really my experience of life that I'm translating in a hopefully self-aware way that is symbolic and triggering for other people to reflect on their own, you know, aspects of life that they might not have an opportunity to spend time with. Something like that. So this Luna moth I actually came across in one of my hikes. I say hike, but it was not a hike. It was a walk, a light walk in the woods. So I stumbled across this little specimen here and decided to keep it. And from the time that I saw this, I was seeing this as the fruit of life pattern. You see that in the background between the lunar moth and the actual moon. So that's how this piece of artwork came together. So some of the study is how I use this pattern, the quantum memoir pattern, as a life cycle of death and life, you know, winter and summer, you know, the new moon and the full moon. How I use that cycle for self-awareness. And then a blank spread to accompany it. And then here, this one was really different because I put some ideas that I normally would not draw. Like I would not draw the tie because of what it really represents, you know, the cell phone. So there's some of these things that are not really the symbols I would normally work with, but I was kind of agitated, but more so because I was liberated in a way to recognize, like, I don't want to work to live. Like I want to love my life so much that all I want to do is work, because this is my work. So, you know, it is imperative for me to make sure that my lifestyle is financially supported in a way that I can do this and share these ideas with other people, because I love doing it so much and I feel so called to do it. So I was frustrated with this idea that we have to work in society in order to live a good life. Like, why can't we just live a good life and be willing to serve in a way that suits us and suits other people? So I was just kind of like had this friction inside of me. And, you know, the lizard, like the fly, there was a fly that was annoying me that day. I really just put this whole different kind of perception in here. And hopefully it's seen in a liberating way, because it was very liberating for me. Discernment, so that's standing out. Answer or decline. So really just making the choice for yourself of what feels right for you to do. And then you could write it down here. And then the final one, this one came up as, you know, I'm spending the time putting together the Fruit of Life Cycle booklet that I came up with. And then I am also coming up with a dream catcher one. And so I was talking with somebody about that idea because they're very much into dream analysis. And so we had this little conversation, and then it sparked some visuals for me, including this mason jar full of ideas of, like, what would you want to be aware of when it comes to daydreaming, lucid dreaming, fantasies? Like, what kind of information do I need to collect so that I can start to see what all of this, like, inner perception is telling me? Like, how could I collect all that data and information in a way that I could put it in my thought form and see a larger picture of what my subconscious might be communicating to me? So I'm coming up with that dream catcher booklet, which will be just like these ones, you know, the Fruit of Life Cycle, this GRAMoire style one, and then I'll have one for the dream catcher. So I'm just coming up with all of these different themes, because one book isn't enough for me to put all of my grand ideas in. So I'm coming up with these little booklets so that I can use them. But as I'm doing that, I feel like it will also be a tool that other people can enjoy. So I'm collecting these ideas. If you have any ideas of what's important when you remember a dream or a vision, or a psychedelic journey, like whatever it is that you're tapping into that transcendental state, if there's information that should be gathered, let me know so that I can continue to fill up this little jar. And so I had the visual of the jar, but the fireflies on the outside of the jar and not on the inside. So I had this idea of the firefly, and then it synchronized with somebody else's reading that I was doing. So I can see how this little light is like a beacon, and so they flash as communication to speak to one another. So I feel like that's what this little guy is doing, and it's done it with a few different people in my life, and so now they're flashing, and so like this pulse is getting larger. So I want to thank whomever's been the ones that are supporting me. Oh look, I'm getting nervous, stumbling over my words. So those that have been supporting me with my artwork, like to really just get these symbols out there, I really want to say thank you. I appreciate you purchasing the book and sharing it with other people. All right, so then there's one for you to work on yourself. Not work on yourself, but maybe that's a Freudian slip, but you can work on it yourself. Oh, okay. So then the end of the book is it is the first one of this style that I did that would be able to be used as a crystal grid. So I put it to kind of represent that you can get these for tarot spreads or crystal grids. Like I said, you can get the original artwork, or you can get a reprint of it. And you can also use it as a meditation to just sit with the symbols and then write down thoughts that might come forward for you. And if you want any kind of help in using the actual, this formula of how I use these seed words and how I let my intuition kind of fill ideas into them, then I also offer tutoring. So that I basically just kind of give you the idea of how this works, how the cycle works, and then you could come up with your own outer seed words and your own practice that you would be able to use in your, in your life. And then you could also use it with the Fruit of Life cycle. You can do it so that you can set goals. And it's worthy to mention that these templates, whether it's the Fruit of Life or just the regular Quantum Memoir, you can get these templates for free on my website. I have them as downloadable images so that you can just print this out yourself. You don't have to buy the books if you don't want to. But if you do want to support me, then everything is listed on the website. You can even subscribe to this one. So let's talk about the subscription service, because it's something that I think is kind of that I want to experiment with this idea of quantum entanglement, right? So if I am seeing an image and I'm putting energy into it, and then it's doing some kind of self-reflection for me, that's growth for me. But if somebody else is also looking at that same image, having their own self-reflection and their own self-growth, then that is going to be exponential to the one drawing that is done. So I feel like if somebody else gets these books on a regular basis, then we're doing a collaboration. We're working together. We're creating synchronicities and growth that is going to be more monumental because there's more people doing it. So I'm thinking that that's a relationship that I really want to be in. So while you can get the book, like just one time or whenever you feel like getting it, then you can just purchase one as each issue comes out. But if you want to do it where you could subscribe, then I'm going to give you a much lower price, because to me, we're working together. We're collaborators. We're co-creators. And so I want to give you a better price so that you can play along with me. This is my work. This is what I love to do. I hope you love to consume it and kind of grow it into seeds and flowers of your own life. So that's it. The issue 2 of the GRAMoire. Thanks for watching.